Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Eric Bowling, and she plays hopscotch on a crossword. Dana Perino, The Five. The new battle cry from Trump: the election is rigged. It's rigged by the media. It's rigged at the polls. It's rigged everywhere. Even Saturday Night Live, who once let Donald host the show, is involved in this massive conspiracy. Let's quote the book of Deuteronomy.
I think they are the news media. This is not about election officials at the precinct level. I think it's amazing that Trump is as close as he is right now, considering the one-sidedness of the news media barrage. And the best description of it is by Barry Castleman in his blog, where he said this is a coup d'etat. He said 14 million citizens in private ballots picked Donald Trump. 20 TV executives have decided to destroy him.
Everybody. True, the media is rigged, but it was rigged for Trump all damn year. He got more free media than the weather, dwarfing not just his primary foes, but Hillary as well. If it wasn't for the media, who fell over Trump every time he sneezed, we'd have a different candidate. So yeah, it was rigged, and that rigging gave us Trump. He should be extremely grateful. Of course, now he still gets the same coverage, but it's soaked in opposition research. Was he set up? Could it be the media propelled him to the top of the heap, knowing he would be so easy to bring down later? Short answer, yes. Long answer, hell yes. But it feels like Trump is blaming the refs before the game is played, anticipating a loss. And worse, it's a signal that the worst kind of liberal identity politics has spread beyond its borders. We know liberal bias exists, but it used to be that the left were the victimhood kings. But now Trump has stolen their act, running as the champion of the cheated, which must upset the left, for the media believes only the left can be aggrieved. Thanks to Trump, now there's competition. All right, Dana, is creating this mentality of everything's rigged. He's not just talking about the media. He's talking about polling stations. He's tweeting about. Is that smart, or is it dangerous, or is it a mixture of both?
It depends on what your goal is. So what's the goal? Is it to make sure your people turn out for the polls and they're angry? That probably helps, at least a little bit. It does seem to me he's conceding a little bit too early. I mean, his poll in Ohio today was pretty good, so I would let that go. I mean, the polls everywhere else are pretty bad. And the thing is, to be robbed, the election must be close. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're robbed of like the Vizsla never wins at Westminster Kennel at the dog show, and he was robbed. But the truth is, actually, they're never even in the top six. So they're not really robbed. They just don't win. They don't win on the merits.
Right.
And I think that's a thing that the Republican Party has to really be thinking about, which is now we've had 3 elections in a row where the conservative Republican ideas are not persuasive enough to a broad enough majority of the people, and in particular, going forward, what that means with millennials as they grow older. There's a poll out today that said only 28% of millennials plan to vote for Trump. That is not good enough for the future. Could it be good enough for Donald Trump this time around? Maybe there's a path along the way, but I think saying that it's rigged, I agree with a lot of people who say that it's dangerous.
Is it, Eric, the message is going to work with his supporters. Will it get anybody else?
Well, so Kellyanne Conway came out this afternoon and said what he's talking about, take it or leave it, she said what he's talking about is the media portion, not necessarily that the polling places are rigged.
But she was wrong because he tweeted polls.
But she clarified it, saying it was what they talked about going after was the media bias. And we all know, we've talked about media bias for years here. We know the mainstream media is left wing. Here's the thing, though. Trump did get a lot of free press, a lot of free media, but it wasn't all good. There was a lot of bad stuff in the meantime. If you need any proof of that, turn on CNN, and it's just like trashing him the whole time down. That's part of the free media he's getting. Also this big Billy Bush videotape that came out, that was a very important moment in the campaign. It hurt Donald Trump. And then the accusers started to come, and that followed. And that was very, very important opposition research that was exposed by the media, not by the other 16 GOP candidates that are running against him. So, yes, you're right, and I think Trump is right to a certain extent that the media is his biggest foe, not Hillary Clinton. His biggest enemy right now is his biggest combatant is not Clinton, is the mainstream media. Yeah.
But like I said, if you compare the amount of coverage that his primary challengers got, I mean, you live by the media, you die by the media.
Well, for sure. And it has been both a darling in some respects to him because he's been able to get a lot of press and coverage and focus on him. But he's also the guy that says yes to the interviews. I know when we've tried to book people, you know, and New Year's and other things, it's like people are like, no, or Hillary, come on here, no. But he says yes, and he makes himself available, and he sticks around and talks to all the reporters after each of these debates in the primaries. I saw it, and I was like, wow, honey badger, because he wasn't going home. It was still like 12:30, et cetera. But again, there's risk with that. There can be great reward, but tremendous risk. Because what do we see? This is almost just like, you know, medieval in its origins. They build you up to, you know, take you down for the great fall. Obviously, they had this opposition research and this tape of him. They knew that this existed, but it was placed and perfectly timed for like maximum impact.
But who do you think knew that I'm just curious.
NBC
like when he says
knew they had it. I mean, they knew they had it. And there is some evidence to suggest that as well in terms of
that's
like
not what I've read.
Billy Bush, talking about it.
Well, he talked about it in August at the
for sure.
The Olympics.
And so, so I think that if they had that, they know it, then was it leaked ahead of time? It was going to come out also that Monday, but then it was leaked on that Friday. So there's a lot of different things. I mean, we're probably not going to know all of it until kind of out and we see what happens in the election. But I will tell you this, and I'll be quick. The new Politico Morning Consult poll of registered but not likely voters indicates 41% of voters now believe November's election could be stolen from Donald Trump due to widespread voter fraud. And 73% of Republicans think the election could be swiped from him.
Right.
So just 17% of Democrats. Maybe he's keeping on with this to say this so that his voters are super motivated to turn out for him, because that's the chance that he has, because the polls don't look like he can gain much ground from getting new supporters or people added on from women or minorities or independents.
Juan, trying to get all of your supporters or to believe that America has rigged elections like a third world dictatorship or a banana republic. Is this healthy?
It's not healthy at all, and that's why I think you see pushback from Republican officials. And that's why Trump's at war right now with the Republican Party chair in a state like Ohio, where you would think that, oh my gosh, he's not doing bad in Ohio, but here he is attacking the party chair because the party chair is associated with the governor, John Kasich. And so he's going after the party chair, and the party chair, I think, was on Fox News today saying, hey, wait a second, we run a fair election. I'm responsible for election here. I'm a Republican. You see the same thing in North Carolina. He's going after Republican officials. And what you see is pushback, including from people like Paul Ryan. He just continues to attack Paul Ryan. Again, I don't know why, but he's going after Republicans. To me, it looks like the Civil War is raging. The problem is that he also says things, Greg, like, oh, you know what? You should monitor those inner cities. Oh, geez. I mean, so now it's like, oh, yeah, let's go after those minority people because that's where they are. Inner city is a euphemism for that. And so, you know what we're going to do? We're going to ask our white voters to watch those minority. I mean, I think this is poisonous for us as a people, as an American people.
Well, can I play Giuliani? This is Giuliani this morning talking about voter fraud.
I'm sorry, dead people generally vote for Democrats rather than Republicans. Do you want me to tell me that I think the election in Philadelphia and Chicago is going to be fair? I would have to be a moron to say that. I've found very few situations where Republicans cheat. They don't control the inner cities the way Democrats do. Maybe if Republicans control the inner cities, they do as much cheating as Democrats.
That's pretty funny.
I think this is a losing strategy, that part of it. It's too early to be saying we may lose because of the process is rigged. Generally, it's not, unless you're really, really close and there's some fraud that goes on. It's a winning strategy to say the process is rigged because the media is in the tank for the Democrat.
Yeah.
Right.
That works, and that will get people behind you. But this idea that we may lose already with 22 days out, it's a mistake because he's within the margin of error in every single swing state, every single one of those, with the exception of maybe Michigan. I think it's 10 or 11. But everything else is within the margin of error. This is not over if you get the right message and nail it down now.
One of the things that the media couldn't rig was organizational efforts in the states. And if you look at early voting, the Democrats put a premium on it. They've worked on it very diligently, and that's paying returns for them in places like Florida, possibly even in North Carolina, and maybe in Ohio. Not as well in Ohio, but they knew that state was going to be tough for them. So The media can't rig that part. That is a responsibility of the Republican National Committee and the candidate himself. And the fact that the first debate was so important and he was largely believed to have lost that debate, the media couldn't rig his performance. So believe me, I get it that the media could be left wing. I mean, look at what happened to Romney.
Yeah.
He was the media darling during the primary season, and then as soon as he became the candidate, they went after him,
Yeah.
and they went after him hard. But you kind of have to factor that into your thinking as you go into it.
You know
if
what?
you're
The media
Republican.
can't make stuff up. I mean, I'm just
Are you
astounded. Every day.
I don't know.
Trump.
The media didn't make up the
says,
47%
No.
Romney tape.
No, they didn't make up the tape with Billy Bush, right? That's what was. Those were his
No, but they
words.
certainly spend a lot
Doesn't
of time
matter.
digging for
All
stuff.
I'm saying-
and the
Are you
point is
thinking
that
politics, we don't dig on each other?
I don't think the media spends a 1/20th the amount of time they spent on digging for the
All right.
GOP nominee's history and background.
You know what?
That they do for the Democrats.
You're so right, because who came up with this email stuff on Hillary Clinton?
Not them.
Oh,
not the media.
not the New York Times.
Not-
New York
oh,
Times.
you mean
New
the
York
original?
Times.
Yeah.
Oh, I make stuff up. But anyway, let me just say, I think that what you've got here is a situation where the momentum is clearly with Hillary Clinton in all these swing states. But the key point is, I hear from people all the time, well, maybe the polls are wrong because there's a silent group of people, Trump supporters, who are afraid to admit they're a Trump supporter, and they're going to rush to the polls. This is what Trump is now saying.
Right.
This is the last. But every time, Greg, it's stoking alienation, anger, a sense that somehow the system is against him. And and even Republicans are against him.
But we got to move on. But my point is, the left has been stoking division forever, and it's just the right has finally learned from the left. I think that's
this
what you're
is
seeing.
Trump. I don't think this is the right. I don't think this is the Republican Party.
It's the Trump party.
That's what I think.
Yes, the next new party.
And what's next?
I don't know. Ahead.
B-block.
A Republican Party headquarters attacked in North Carolina. One GOP official is calling it political terrorism. Details when the 5 returns.
An attack on our democracy. That's how the governor of North Carolina is describing the firebombing of the Republican Party's headquarters outside Durham on Saturday night. A bottle of flammable liquid was thrown through the window of the office in Orange County. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but there was serious damage to the building. And a swastika was spray painted next door, along with a message, Nazi Republicans leave town or else. The FBI and the ATF are investigating. Both campaigns have responded. Hillary Clinton's team tweeted, "The attack is horrific and unacceptable. Very grateful that everyone is safe." And this from Trump, quote, "Animals representing Hillary Clinton and Dems in North Carolina just firebombed our office in Orange County because we are winning." Now, there's an investigation underway, Greg. Nobody knows who perpetrated it. It is good that nobody got hurt. I guess they at least had that kind of a conscience that they didn't do it while during working hours.
I don't know how to talk about this without wondering, like, is this, you know, like, I've written about hate crimes a lot and about how people who manufacture them and are these done out of attention? Is it some stupid teenager? I worry that when you give too much attention to things like these, it creates more of them.
Yep.
And that's why I think that, like, this could have been a 16-year-old kid, or it could have been somebody seeking attention. The phrase Nazi Republican leave town or else sounds like it's right out of an after-school special. It's like, it seems so perfect. Do you know what I mean?
It could be a surprise, Kimberly, that obviously I don't know all the area, but in the age of video cameras,
Yeah.
there might be some sort of video evidence that they would have. Do you think so?
Absolutely. The first thing you want to do is not only check that place, but check some of the adjoining properties or, you know, businesses to see. There's also, depending, lights on, you know, cameras on different streets, you know, signals, whatever it is. You'd be surprised the places that have it, gas stations close by.
Yeah.
But, you know, I prosecuted hate crimes cases, and, you know, there's certain criteria that have to be met in order to qualify for it. But this, nevertheless, is really just also a sign of a divided nation and a divided electorate, you know, with very strong opinions, and you've witnessed that in the high unfavorables of each of the candidates. It's unfortunate. I don't think this divided nation that we're seeing has been really helped along or healed with a salve on it from President Obama or this administration or Justice Department. It's been more like fuel to the fire, and we've seen it in Ferguson, we've seen it in Chicago and Detroit and other places throughout the country. Obviously, you have to make a strong statement to say this kind of violence shouldn't be condoned. This County is a very strong, like Democratic stronghold in terms of support there, but we don't know who did it. But hopefully through the forensics and recovery of evidence, they're going to be able to find out, because you don't want to see something like this repeated or escalated. Your thoughts, Eric?
Well, I would just agree with just about everything Kimberly said. Also like to note that, you know, you don't know if there's someone cleaning the place at night, someone's watching the place at night, someone could have died with this. But I will tell you, this is the most divided the country's been since I've been following politics and watching and being involved. And this is the most insanely circus-like political atmosphere I've ever seen. Hopefully not.
Just the debate.
Hopefully not. Yeah. Hopefully we get our wits and start focusing on
Chris Wallace is
on campaign violence against other campaigns. It's not unheard of. And in fact, remember when we talked about that San Diego congressional race, Kimberly, Carl DeMaio, remember his office was ransacked and thankfully not torched or burned or anything, but not totally unheard of. But this goes maybe a step too far.
Way too far, way over the line. I mean, the question is, you know, given that we're such a divided country, what happens, and this is one of the scenarios people are discussing, what happens if Trump loses? Because Trump does engage in kind of language about, you know, violence and assassination at his events and all that, all the Second Amendment people taking care of things.
Presumably,
I just think this is terrible.
This was violence against the Republicans.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying if you stir this kind of pot, I think that you never know the angles that you're getting.
You're not blaming Trump for this, right?
I don't know who to blame.
Let's not.
This is what the point I was trying to get at in the beginning, clumsily, is that when there is an idea of division, you start seeing these kinds of incidents, and you find out from behind them, oftentimes they're built to breed division by being fake. And I'm not saying this is a fake.
False flag?
Yes, a false flag. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, though, that because we don't know, it's almost pointless to sit here and talk about it, and it's better, rather, to just say, it sucks, it shouldn't happen, and let them figure it out. I find it interesting that there was no camera. Perhaps the person knew there was no camera there.
Oh, let's take that to a gun discussion. Soft targets.
All right, we're going to keep moving on. A new batch of hacked emails are posing more problems for the Clinton campaign. Meanwhile, the founder of WikiLeaks has suddenly found his access to the internet cut off. We'll have it next.
Has Julian Assange been cyber attacked? WikiLeaks says the country of Ecuador cut off Assange's internet on Saturday. The WikiLeaks founder has been holed up for years at the Ecuadorian embassy in London while avoiding extradition to Sweden. Before he lost his connection, though, Assange did manage to drop a new batch of hacked emails from the account of Clinton's campaign chair, John Podesta, and there are some more stunning revelations among them. We learned Hillary's top aides were actually disappointed when they found out the identity of one of the San Bernardino shooters. They were hoping he'd be white, not Muslim. Here's what Podesta wrote after MSNBC's Chris Hayes tweeted out the terrorist name. He said, quote, better if a guy named Saeed Farouk was reporting that a guy named Christopher Hayes was the shooter. And in another email chain, Clinton's aides were exposed for agreeing to take donations from those lobbying on behalf of foreign governments. Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook wrote, quote, I'm okay just taking the money and dealing with any attacks. Are you guys okay with that? Campaign spokeswoman, who's been in the news a lot lately, Jennifer Palmieri, responded, take the money, exclamation points. Now, Dana, which one do you want to take, the Farouk and Chris Hayes
both?
one?
Yeah. On Robbie Mook saying, as the press secretary, like he'll deal with the fallout, that's the benefit of being a Democratic press secretary, because you know that you'll be able to manage it and the media will probably let it go. Believe me, if that were Dick Cheney's press secretary, the answer would not have been the same. On the Farouk thing, I think it's obviously unfortunate because terror is terror, and hoping that it's one ethnicity or another is not good. But it did remind me of in 2012. Do you remember when the Aurora shooting happened at the movie theater? Yep. And the first thing that happened at ABC News was Brian Ross said, there is a Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado page on the Colorado Tea Party site as well, talking about him joining the Reporter. That was the first thing they looked for, was to see if it was some sort of right-wing, white nationalist, Tea Party person, when it actually turned out to be somebody who was very mentally ill.
Well, can I ask you about this? So on one hand, as Dana points out, the narrative they were looking for is, gee, I hope this isn't a Muslim terrorist. It looks like it might be. Because why? Because if that were the case, it would be better for the opponent.
No,
Hillary
because
Clinton's opponent?
the political narrative in the countries, anything happens these days, the first thing we do is look and see that if it's connected to someone with a Muslim name, if
I
there's a
get that part,
terrorist
but why
connection.
would the campaign manager Robbie Moore?
Because one of the liabilities for Democrats at this point is, oh, you know, the Republicans or conservatives charged President Obama won't say radical Islamic jihad.
Right.
President Obama is concerned about the perception that the United States is engaged in a war against all of Islam, all that kind of thing. So, I mean, this is a political construct and a political concern coming from the chairman of a political campaign. I don't think it's that surprising. I can tell you, as a black person, when there are crimes committed, sometimes something terrible, even before this, I would say, I hope it's not a black person.
All right, KG, what about the Clinton campaign saying, take the money, even if it comes from a foreign government, lobbying for access?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in playing on that game show, you know, deal or no deal. Take the money. I mean, honestly, it's like their mantra. They should have it on their mantra on their flag. But what this shows is really, if you look at it, kind of a pervasive theme of influence and pay to play and money grabbing, and also just an insensitivity racially that's demonstrated here. You know, Catholics are backwards, and Southerners are rednecks, and Latinos, Hispanics are needy. I mean, God, who's left? I mean, they're just bad-mouthing everybody, but they want to take your money still for donations. So it's not a pretty picture that it's painting. And apparently, too, from the sources I've talked to, Democrats, this is not going over well with her donors and supporters because there's a lot of dirty laundry. So that's not going to be helpful for them. Whether it's going to resonate for the election, there's so much coming out, and there's reports maybe that he's getting his internet back up and more being released. Let's see what happens. Now it seems like there's probably going to be a rush to get stuff out before the Wednesday debate, if you think about it, in terms of Assange. What else, you know, you're going to hear at this point? But it's disappointing to me.
Let me bring Greg in here. Greg, the other part of that email chain is, don't bring in Madam Secretary. Don't even let her know we're going to take the money.
Well, I mean, we call this dirty laundry, but it's still not your laundry. And we're calling this a hack, and it's theft. It is not hacking. It's called stealing. I have an article up at foxnews.com on this very topic, in the opinion thing. People are justifying this theft in this manner. They use this metaphor. A thief breaks into somebody's house. He finds a murder victim. So in the commission of a crime, he uncovers another. So that's how they describe WikiLeaks. They're committing a crime, but they're exposing others. However,
Robin Hood?
Yeah, it doesn't work that way because he's dropping thousands upon thousands of indiscriminate emails. He's not reading them. That would be like robbing 1,000 houses to find one victim. It is immoral. It is wrong. And it is shameful that people take glee out of reading people's personal stuff because it's going to happen to you. I swear to God it will.
Right, what amazes me, I got to say, what amazes me is this is a political campaign. These people are engaged in political conversations. You may like it, not like it, but they have to be honest with each other.
Exactly.
And then so now all of a sudden it's like open doors. But I got to say, this is old stuff. And to reiterate something Greg said a minute ago, you don't see Hillary Clinton's not one of the primary people writing or subscribing to these positions.
And that is a great point. In this example of the money, they didn't even loop her in.
They're
that
like,
they
don't
wanted
tell
to
her
take
because
the-
she'll tell us not to.
And she'll tell us not to.
Well,
However,
we won't have that
can
luxury
we just,
when they hack us, or I'm sorry, steal from us. And I'm telling you, every one of us will be
no
stolen.
one's disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
No one. I'm throwing this out there, and I'm not doing it for any stupid reason other than, what if these are leaked and not hacked?
I don't
What if
think
these are an insider saying, I'm not on board with what she's doing? Here's the leak.
What
Here it is,
if I took Dana's purse and put it outside? That's like a leak. I took her information and I put it out there. That's still stealing.
All right, we're going to leave it
Don't touch my
right there.
purse.
Well, it's been a tough week and a half or so for the Trump family after that tape from 2005 surfaced and multiple women came forward to accuse the GOP nominee of sexual misconduct. Trump says those allegations are all lies. We haven't heard much from his wife, however, Melania, on the subject until now. Fox and Friends co-host Ainsley Earhart just got a one-on-one with her, and it airs tomorrow. But we've got a preview. Here's Mrs. Trump on the conversation she had with her husband about that hot mic incident with Billy Bush.
Those words, they were offensive to me, and they were inappropriate. And he apologized to me, and I accept his apology. And we are moving on.
From a woman's perspective, what were your thoughts when you heard those tapes?
This is not the man that I know.
And here is one more clip from their sit-down.
Is it fair for the media to bring up Bill Clinton's past, or for Donald Trump to bring up Bill Clinton's past?
Well, if they bring my past, why not?
So they're asking for it.
They're asking for it. They started. They started from the beginning of the campaign, putting my picture from modeling days, as you want that to be your first lady. That was my modeling days, and I'm proud what I did. I worked very hard.
And Ainsley Earhardt is with us now. There she is. Welcome to The Five,
Thank
Ainsley.
you.
Congratulations on the interview.
Thank
and
you.
tell us what was like your experience with her. It's obviously a tough subject matter.
It really is. And, you know, they had a tough week and a half as a family. And so I sat down with her woman to woman and just said, what was this like? Because you've been in my thoughts just like all of us. She's been in our thoughts for the last, 2 weeks. And she said they have dealt with it as a family. They have moved on. She's really disappointed in the mainstream media. She said there are countless lies that have been told about her, and she defended some of those lies to me, talked about what actions she's taking, such as lawsuits. And she got specific with some of those. The biggest lie, she talked about the nude photos that were in the New York Post and some of the comments that were made, and she'll talk about that tonight or tomorrow morning. You'll see that on the morning show. She talked about her platform. If she does become the first lady, she wants to talk about social media issues, because she said people have gone after her and said false things about her and said some nasty things about her. And she said she knows firsthand how hurtful that can be. She hasn't been on social media on purpose for a very long time, and she wants to be an advocate for young women, young girls in particular, and young individuals just when it comes to social media. I thought that was a great platform issue. She talked about why Hillary Clinton was not fit to be president, why her husband was the better choice, and how they made a decision as a couple to decide to jump in the race despite things that have happened in the past. She talked about what it's like to be a mother to her son Barron, who's 10 and a half years old and goes to school here, very active in sports. And if we're going to see her and Ivanka, because I'm hearing a lot of requests, as y'all are too, probably, that we want to see more Ivanka and more of Melania on the campaign trail. So she addressed that issue as well.
Well, fantastic. We've all got questions for you. Dana, what's your question?
I have two. One, it's interesting for me, I've had to comment on the social media front.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely worthwhile and necessary. But I wonder if she's aware of how social media is it's her, it's everywhere. And it's very personal, and it's been awful. And it's pretty much basically, to me, become InfoWars on Twitter and Facebook. It's almost completely useless, which is unfortunate because it's actually a very good tool. So I would definitely support that, because I can't imagine what younger people go through when they think that's their whole world on their phone. I'm curious if you asked her about the People magazine interview, or not the interview, but the first person account from the reporter who talked about some very personal things that were happening to her. She said she was sexually assaulted by Donald Trump while Melania was in the next room and 6 months pregnant.
Yeah, she did have messages for those women, for all of them that have come out. And as far as social media is concerned, she said people write things and they know that they'll never meet her. And she says she doesn't respond, she doesn't write back.
Okay, Bowling.
How does she handling, look at the mainstream media, most of the networks are constantly talking about this issue. It's like they won't even talk about any of the policy issues anymore. They have a hard time bringing up the WikiLeaks stuff. Do you ask her, how does it feel personally to constantly be subject of the headline news across every single hour, across every
she did say, I asked her about what advice she has for her husband with the last debate coming up. She said, I just want these candidates to focus on policy and how they're going to change this country and what's the betterment for the country, and not their past, what's happened 11 years ago, 10 years ago with Bill Clinton's life, or with her life and her husband's life. But she said, they went there, and so if they're going to go there, we're going to defend ourselves as a family.
All right, Greg, question?
Yeah, I don't have much of a question. I just feel generally bad for her. I don't think this is what she bargained for when she married a billionaire. It was going to be trips and fun, and instead, if I keep thinking, if I were a spouse living in Russia with my wife, and my wife was running for office in Russia, I would be in a bunker the entire time. I would just be in hiding.
You might actually be in a bunker.
I would
put you in one.
Exactly. So I can't imagine when you get a sense from her that she's constantly guarded.
To be honest with you, that's exactly how I felt going into their apartment. And I felt sorry for her, but I will tell you, when I walked away from that apartment, no matter if you're voting for him or not, I think after you see the interview, you're going to see she is a very strong woman. And I said to her, people are wondering where you are on the campaign trail. And she said, Greg, no one is going to force me to do anything I don't want to do. I am a mother, first and foremost. I need to stay home and I need to take care of our son. And I told Donald that from the very beginning. And she said, no one will tell me what to say. me. No one will tell me where to be. That I make up my own mind, my own plans, and I set my own calendar.
So it wasn't the case that the Trump campaign put out those nude pictures that were in the New York Post.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because we all walked away, our staff, saying, wow, that was a pretty impressive answer. She talked about the nude photos. She said, I am European. She said, this is art. I am extremely proud of my body. No matter if you are bigger than what society makes you believe you should look like, no matter if you are super skinny, she said everyone should embrace their bodies. And because I asked her about body image concerns for young girls, and her answer was pretty impressive.
Very quickly, did she have anything to say about Michelle Obama, because she was charged with plagiarizing a speech at the convention?
I didn't ask her about that one. I should have.
Water under the bridge.
That's going to be the follow-up. But it's interesting. It seemed that she sort of suggested in that interview that the Clintons are the ones behind the nude photos of her. So to answer Juan's question.
She said that there are lawsuits that are in order, and she couldn't talk specifically about those. So that might come out later.
Well, fantastic. I think
good job.
You're going to get the round 2 interview.
Thank
So you can catch that on Fox and Friends. Thank you so much, Ainsley. The full interview with Melania tomorrow at 6 a.m. on Fox and Friends. And up next, another special interview. This one an exclusive with the moderator of Wednesday night's debate. That's right, the man himself, Chris Wallace, on what this historic opportunity means to him ahead.
This month, the Fox News Channel celebrated our 20th anniversary. And on Wednesday, we will mark another milestone. For the first time ever, one of Fox's own will moderate a general election debate. Chris Wallace, the power player of the week on Fox News Sunday this weekend. He spoke out about the opportunity and what it means to him.
It means a lot. It means a lot personally. It's kind of a statement of where you are in this business. It also means a lot to me because, quite frankly, it means something for Fox. I'm the first Fox moderator to do a general election debate, and I'm very proud for the news organization. I think it's a recognition of the fact that we do serious journalism. Some critics say no, but the fact is you and I know we do. And here's the Commission on Presidential Debates recognizing that. Look, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. We've seen the previous moderators get criticized, and at certain points I've had to remind myself, this may be a once-in-a-life opportunity. So have fun to the degree you can stop biting your nails. Have fun with it.
Here's more from Chris talking about his role at the final showdown.
Basically, you're there as a timekeeper, but you're not a participant. You're there just to make sure that they engage in the most interesting and fairest way possible. And I take it very seriously. It's not a TV show that we're doing. This is part of civics, the Constitution, if you will, in action, because this is helping millions of people decide who we're going to elect as the next president.
So, Greg, in fact, there are people who think that Chris Wallace shouldn't do this because we're Fox. They're saying, oh, he's going to be biased. What do you think?
You know, this is that same argument that you always get from the left, and that is like they've owned the turf for so long, they can't even forfeit a tiny piece of the field. They want to own the audience, the ball, the bat, the refs, everything. And if they don't get it all, they want to go home. So tough luck. You got Chris Wallace, and I've been giving him a lot of tips over trying to get him to relax. He's been really, really nervous. We're doing a lot of breathing exercises in the park.
You know, one thing that's really struck me from his interview with Bret Baier, which I thought was very nice, Dana, is the idea that we do serious journalism here at Fox, and some people just don't accept that. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, that's why it's so important that Fox finally has this opportunity.
Well, I remember when we were back in the White House days, when on Wednesdays, that was around the time when Dan Bartlett from the communications team would start telling all of us, okay, got the Sunday show requests, and he would go through them. And Chris Wallace was the tough one. We're like, oh, you don't want to do Chris Wallace necessarily, because it was a tough one. But also, people who are complaining about Chris Wallace now should go back and look at the commentary about Chris Wallace as a choice when it was announced that he would be a moderator. And there was, I think, universal praise at that time. So I just stick with that.
All right, Eric, you know, one of the ways that you know about people is how they're described by the media. Here's descriptions of Chris Wallace, and I'll admit, he's my friend. Okay, an aggressive journalist, solid, an equal opportunity ravager.
Great. Yeah, fantastic. You love that. That's what you want. I love the buckets. He calls them buckets that he picked: immigration, economy, Supreme Court. and foreign policy, foreign hotspots. Those are ones that he will get to too, because he rules with an iron fist for the time. It's awesome to see him move the debate on to the next topic. So he'll be great.
What do you think?
I am so excited about this. I can't tell you. I think this is going to be a gift, honestly, to the American people, to the voters out there. I do, because I think that he is so meticulous in his preparation, his questioning. I never miss his show. I think it's so informative. His roots, where he goes back to NBC News and White House correspondent and Meet the Press host, and also working for ABC. This is a guy who has seen and done it all. I'm super proud of him, and I finally think we're going to get somebody who is going to be fair and balanced and hit it hard and give some information to people's brains to soak up.
It's a big moment for us here at Fox, and I just can't encourage you. Watch it, and watch it here on the Fox News Channel. One more thing up next.
One more thing, Eric.
Okay, let's take a look at where Hillary's trailing Barack Obama from 2012. This is substantial with millennials. Clinton's polling at 42%. Barack Obama got 60% of millennials. In Hispanics in Nevada, we'll use Nevada, 30% of the state is Hispanic, registered Hispanic. Clinton, 54%. That sounds like a lot until you look at what Obama did in 2012. He had 71% of Hispanics in Nevada. And Clinton, over here with women, 47%. But President Obama had 55%. So these are three big areas that people like to take shots at Trump, but Clinton not polling well compared to Obama in 2012.
It's a good thing she's not running against Obama.
Yeah.
Dana.
All right, you know what it's time for? We haven't done this in a while. I think we have it. Dana's corny joke of the day. I'll be re-recording that later this week. Whoa, it keeps going. Okay. All righty, ready? I've got 3 corny jokes. Okay. Number 1, what does a gambling addict eat? You were going to Vegas.
Chips.
Poker chips and salsa. That's funnier. Poker chips. But anyway, they got it. All right, number 2. What do you call a lady addicted to gambling at bingo?
Bingatic.
Betty.
Betty.
What? Betty?
Betty?
Like
No, just Betty.
Oh, Betty. Like Betty.
Okay, this one's the best one. Ready?
These are tough.
Why couldn't the sesame seed leave the casino? Why couldn't the sesame seed leave the casino?
Because he was on a bagel.
He was on a roll.
Oh,
Oh, my.
I tried.
Why do you say he? It could have been a she.
Yeah, sexist.
I think you got to change it to corny
Sexist
jokes, but
jokes.
also hard.
Last week, 90-year-old World War II veteran George Farchowski accomplished his lifelong dream, receiving his high school diploma. He left high school at 17 to enroll in the military and fight the war, and he's always felt unaccomplished because he didn't get his degree. Farchowski was brought to tears when he received the diploma from his grandson, high school vice principal in Pennsylvania. And to add to the good news, let me tell you, today President Obama announced that the high school graduation rate in the United States has reached an all-time high of 83% for the 2014-2015 school year. But the president says he's trying to get even higher.
Great. All right. It's time for this. Fred's Fitness News.